Hi everyone, I'm East Coast Pete. Welcome to my mid-rock crisis. I believe everyone has at least one great song inside them. If you've got a whole album, that's rarer. This guy achieved greatness with his talent, his ability, and his craft. And that's how he's remembered. He was a singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, but he was best known only as the best rock bassist of all time. I said rock, not jazz, not metal, just good old 60s and 70s rock. Born in 1944, died in 2002, Englishman John Entwistle, a longtime member of the Brit invasion band The Who, had formal music training, the only Who member who did. Over a 40-year career, he did for the bass what Hendrix did for guitar, namely putting it out in front, with attitude. He studied piano, trumpet, and French horn. Taught himself guitar, but he always preferred the bass's lower octaves. As a member of the mod quartet The Who, he was called on to compose bass lines that would hold the songs together, while Pete Townshend's guitar took off into the wild blue, and Keith Moon's drums played with reckless abandon. His lyrics appeared at least once on every Who album, except Quadrophenia. But he never contributed lead vocals, and I think he might have wanted to. Roger and Pete didn't want a third voice. Can't say why, his voice is more than adequate. He wrote the songs Boris the Spider, My Wife, Trick of the Light, The Ox, Heinz Baked Beans, Medak. All these appeared on various Who albums, and Fiddle About and Cousin Kevin from Tommy. Easily the least radio-friendly cuts of the rock opera, these last two in particular are examples of his dark wit. Other examples are Success Story and cover art on Who by the Numbers, The Quiet One and You on Face Dances, Dangerous and One at a Time on It's Hard. He put out an album of unreleased Who songs called Odds and Sods, and he released 5 more solo albums with his own bands, with a largely rotating membership. The Entwistle Band played Woodstock 99, like he did with The Who 30 years earlier. When he played bass, his amp was set at full treble and full volume. He said he played bass like a drum set, while Keith Moon played his drum set like it was a keyboard. He was a collector of instruments, particularly guitars, as well as museum-quality curios and bizarre artifacts. He also painted. Check out his paintings online. Many were about musicians. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1990 with The Who. Played Gibson, Fender, and Alembic basses. He preferred the Flying Wedge and the Thunderbird. Bang Your Head Against the Wall is a must listen. Here's some of his songs. My Size, A Perfect Rocker. Gonna Knock You Down to My Size. Horns. On His Head and in His Band. You don't have to guess what he means. No fluffy symbolism here. Ted's End could have been on a Beatles album. You're Mine and I'm the Devil. Number 29, about eternal youth. Believe in everything so you don't have to decide. Even Santa Claus exists in some quantum reality. And then finally, Neil Young's Cinnamon Girl, one of my favorite songs. Always reminds me of my sweetheart in the 1970s. They also produced some doo-wop albums of 50s rock and roll chestnuts. They didn't sell well, except to completists. I always thought he got better looking as he got older. When he stopped dyeing his hair dark, He dyed it all throughout most of his career so Roger Daltrey's blonde locks would stand out. For all of his decibels, his thunder finger, and his roadhouse toughness, he was the quiet one. He was the one you wanted in the trenches, the kind of friend. He was an introvert, apolitical, down-to-earth, but whimsical. He was a force of nature. Unsurprisingly, he was as deaf as Beethoven at the end, playing by memory and the whoosh of displaced air from his speakers, as well as the vibrations from the floor of the studio or the stage. He said he played so loud so that he could hear himself over Townsend's windmill power chords through his multiple Marshall stacks. Pete attributed his own partial hearing loss to John's output. John sided with Pete and Keith against Roger's sobriety, and he last played at a Who reunion show at the Royal Albert Hall in 2002. He was 57, died of a heart attack, in his bed. Cocaine use led to heart failure. Cocaine has taken away so many. What other kind of an example do we need to realize that coke is just not worth it? He really had it all. He was a brigadier general in the so-called Brit invasion. He was fun, gruff, good-natured, and well-loved and respected. He was always all in, and he always seemed to be amused by everything, like he knew the punchline of a private joke. After his funeral, it was revealed that he was a Freemason. Why not? Hope you like my show. Hit like if you did. See why I'm doing this? I just want to keep the music alive a little longer. See ya.